So you're thinking about a career as a drafter. That's awesome. People might think it's just about, drawing lines,
Right.
but it's way more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really about taking those initial design ideas, those sparks of imagination, and
Yep.
translating them into the blueprints, the detailed technical drawings that make things real,
It's like you're bridging the gap between the concept and the actual creation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many industries rely on drafters. You've got architecture, construction, engineering, manufacturing,
Even aerospace.
aerospace. Yeah.
Right.
Practically anything you can think of. There's probably a drafter involved somewhere in making it a reality.
It really makes you appreciate all the unseen work that goes into, well, everything around us.
It really does.
So let's dive into the specifics a bit.
Hmm.
What does a day in the life of a drafter actually look like?
Okay, so imagine this. You're given a design concept, right? It could be for something as grand as a skyscraper or a bridge.
Wow.
Or it could be something incredibly intricate, like a microchip. Your job is to take that vision, that initial idea, and transform it into a precise technical drawing.
And how does that actually happen?
Well, these days, it's all about using specialized software, like AutoCAD, for example.
Right, that makes sense.
And it's not as simple as just drawing lines on a computer. You're using specific commands, features, create layers, dimensions, annotations.
It sounds pretty complex.
Yeah, it can be. Every single element on that drawing, it's communicating critical information to the people who will ultimately be building or manufacturing that design.
So it's like you're speaking a whole other language through the software.
It is, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very precise, very detail-oriented.
No wonder those software skills like mastering AutoCAD are so essential in this field.
Absolutely, it's fundamental.
Now, when we picture a drafter, we might imagine someone hunched over a computer in a, maybe a dimly lit office. But what's the work environment really like?
It really varies, which is actually kind of cool. While some drafters do work primarily in offices, you could find yourself on a factory floor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or even out in the field at a construction site, hard hat and all.
Wow, that's pretty hands-on.
It can be. You might be collaborating directly with engineers and architects on one project and then, working solo under a tight deadline for another. There's definitely variety.
Okay, so the work environment itself could be a pro or a con, depending on, your personality and what you're looking for.
Definitely. It's all about finding the right fit.
But let's be honest, no job is perfect, right?
Right.
What would you say are some of the most significant, I guess, pros and cons that someone exploring this career path should really be aware of?
Okay, well, let's start with a big pro, which is the creative spark.
I love that.
Yeah, because you're taking an idea from that initial, conceptual stage and turning it into something tangible, something real.
You're making it concrete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for those who thrive on that kind of, bringing concepts to life,
Yeah.
drafting allows for that creative expression. You have to solve these spatial puzzles, find really elegant ways to represent sometimes really complex designs, and make sure everything fits together perfectly.
Oh, I bet that's so satisfying when it all comes together.
It really is. It's like a puzzle, like you said,
Yeah,
but on a much larger scale.
exactly. But you mentioned cons earlier. What are some of the potential downsides?
Sure. I think one thing to be aware of is that some aspects of drafting, especially when you're first starting out, can involve a fair bit of repetitive tasks.
Okay, so maybe not the most exciting thing all the time.
Right. And in terms of career progression, while there are definitely opportunities for growth, the latter in certain roles or company structures might not be as, I guess you could say, vertically oriented as in some other professions.
Right, so that's something to consider for sure. It's that classic trade-off, finding a balance between stability and that desire for constant upward mobility.
Exactly.
Now, one thing I've heard some people in the field talk about is the potential for outsourcing in the drafting world. Is this something that someone entering this field should be concerned about? Is it a major concern?
It's true that globalization has had an impact on the drafting profession, just like it has on many others. Some companies do choose to outsource certain tasks for cost effectiveness.
Hey.
But that doesn't mean there's a lack of opportunity. In fact, many companies still really value having skilled drafters in-house,
Okay, that's good to hear.
especially for specialized projects where close collaboration is essential and also a deep understanding of, local regulations and codes.
Right, that makes sense.
So it's not just about the cost.
So there are both challenges and opportunities to navigate.
Absolutely, yeah.
For someone who's feeling good about those pros and cons we just discussed, what would you say are the absolute must-have skills needed to thrive as a drafter?
Okay, well, first and foremost, technical prowess is key.
Okay.
And by that, I mean you really need to master the drafting software.
It's not just knowing the basics, right?
Right. It's about being able to really leverage the software's advanced features to solve real-world design challenges.
Yeah.
And strong math skills are absolutely crucial too.
That makes sense. I mean, you're working with measurements, calculations.
Exactly. Constantly interpreting technical specifications. You got to have that solid math foundation.
It's like those software skills are your instrument, and the math skills are the musical theory that allows you to truly compose.
I like that analogy. That's a great way to put it.
But it's not all technical, right?
Yeah.
What about things like critical thinking, problem solving?
Yeah.
How important are those aspects?
Oh, they're essential. You're constantly faced with intricate designs, sometimes with conflicting requirements. Your ability to really analyze a problem, break it down, and come up with innovative solutions, that's what sets you apart.
And being able to, keep a cool head under pressure probably doesn't hurt either, especially with those tight deadlines we talked about.
Absolutely. That's key in any design field, really.
So we've got the technical chops, the problem-solving skills.
Right.
What about people skills? Are those important in a field that seems, from the outside, so detail-oriented?
They are more important than you might think because drafters, we're rarely working in complete isolation. You're collaborating with engineers, architects, clients.
Right, right.
So effectively communicating your ideas, understanding their feedback, and being able to work as part of a team, that's really critical to success in this field.
It's interesting how it really does require that balance, meticulousness of a master craftsperson combined with the communication and teamwork of a seasoned collaborator.
Exactly. It's a blend of both.
Now let's talk about where this career path can actually lead. What does a typical career progression look like for a drafter?
Okay, so a pretty common path starts with an entry-level drafting role. You're learning the ropes, assisting more experienced drafters, really mastering the software, becoming familiar with industry standards.
Got it.
You might spend a lot of time revising drawings based on feedback, things like that. But this is really where you're building that essential foundation.
It sounds like it's as much about learning to take direction and adapt as it is about those initial technical skills.
Absolutely. And then as you progress, you might move into a junior drafter role.
Okay, so what changes at that level?
At the junior drafter level, you start taking on more responsibility. Yeah.
Makes sense.
You'll be creating those detailed technical drawings more independently, collaborating directly with the engineers, the architects, all that.
Cool.
And you're making sure that your designs, they adhere to all those industry codes and regulations.
It's like that exciting step, from apprentice to craftsperson, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, learning the ropes, and now you're putting those foundational skills into practice.
Right. Yeah, you're working on those real-world projects.
That's got to feel good.
Yeah, definitely.
So then where do you go from there?
Well, as you get even better, even more experience, you might move into an intermediate drafter role.
Okay.
And this is where you start tackling the more complex projects.
Well, thanks.
You're coordinating with all the different people involved, the stakeholders.
Right.
You might even find yourself doing site visits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, going out there to gather information or verify measurements, things like that.
So it's becoming about way more than just the technical drawing at that point.
It is, yeah.
It's understanding the whole project.
Bigger picture, exactly.
How all the pieces, fit together.
Exactly, yeah, very much so.
So what's the pinnacle then? Where does it all lead?
Well, for those who really want to shape the entire field,
Okay.
the senior drafter role, that's a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
They're leading teams, they're overseeing everything, setting the drafting standards for everyone else.
Wow.
They're acting as technical consultants, really the experts.
So they've gone from mastering the tools
Right.
to almost becoming the architect, so to speak,
Yeah, I like that.
of the entire drafting process.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, we talked a little earlier about how technology is changing things,
We did, yeah.
particularly with things like 3D modeling and even AI.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's a little bit, honestly, intimidating, too.
I can understand that.
Could you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Like, specifically, how is AI potentially going to change a drafter's day-to-day work?
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
It is. Everyone wants to know.
Well, imagine inputting all the design parameters, all the requirements into an AI program, and it spits out a first draft.
Whoa.
Maybe even a whole set of technical drawings.
Really?
Just based on that data, it's incredible.
That is wild.
So it could really automate some of those, repetitive tasks we talked about.
Right, right.
And free drafters up to focus on, the more creative aspect.
Problem solving, the refining.
Exactly.
So it's not about, replacing drafters.
Right.
It's about AI enhancing their roles,
Precisely.
letting them work on that higher level.
Exactly. Yeah. Augmenting their abilities.
I love that perspective, yeah, because it's easy to get caught up in that,
The fear of being replaced, yeah.
Exactly. But it's really, it sounds like more of a collaboration
It is. It's humans and machines working together.
to achieve something even better.
Exactly, yeah. That's the goal.
Now, this does make me think, though, that the skills needed to thrive in the future as a drafter might be changing.
Yeah, you're hitting on a really important point there.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a strong foundation, that's always going to be key.
Of course.
Knowing the traditional drafting principles, that's not going away.
Right.
But being able to adapt to those new technologies, that's becoming even more essential.
So you've got to be comfortable with those data-driven approaches, too.
Exactly, yeah.
It's almost like, I imagine, a drafter who can not only create the technical drawing, but also analyze the data from, like, simulations.
Right, exactly.
And use that to actually optimize the design.
Yes, make it more efficient, more sustainable, whatever the goal is.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
It is, and that's where the field is heading.
So it sounds like continuous learning.
Is non-negotiable.
Lifelong learning, that's the key.
You can't just rest on your laurels.
Nope. You got to keep up.
Always be learning those new tools and technologies.
The technology is always evolving, so you got to evolve with it.
Now, speaking of, kind of finding your niche,
Yeah.
we talked before about specializations within drafting.
You did, yeah. There are quite a few.
Could you walk us through some of those options?
Yeah. So architectural drafting, that's a popular one.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You're creating those detailed drawings for buildings, bridges, all those structures.
Very cool.
And it's not just about making them look good. It's about functionality, too.
Oh, of course, of course.
And then there's mechanical engineering drafting.
Okay, so that's more...
That's all about the machines, the tools, mechanical devices.
Got it. Got it.
Precision is key there, understanding how all those parts move and interact.
It sounds perfect for someone who loves taking things apart and putting them back together.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe it.
A tinkerer at heart.
Yeah, exactly. What else?
Oh, and we can't forget electrical drafting.
Ooh, that's a whole other world.
It is very specialized.
Lots of wires, I'm assuming.
You got lots of wiring, diagrams, schematics, things like that.
Oh, man.
Definitely need a meticulous eye for that one.
I bet.
And a deep understanding of electrical principles, obviously.
Right. Safety first.
Absolutely.
It seems like regardless of the specific specialization, though, those core drafting skills, they're always essential, right?
They are, yeah. That's the foundation.
The attention to detail, the ability to translate the ideas into those technical drawings.
Exactly. You can't escape that.
So it's like you build that foundation.
Right.
And then you layer the specialization on top.
Precisely. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
So if you're someone listening and you love that idea of bringing ideas to life and you've got a passion for a certain industry, there's probably a drafting specialization out there for you.
There definitely is, yeah.
Whether it's architecture, mechanics, electronics, anything.
And those specializations can lead to other things, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like an architectural drafter, they might move into project management.
Oh,
Within
right.
an architecture firm, or a mechanical drafter, they might transition to a design engineering role.
That's so cool.
So it opens up a lot of different avenues.
I like how those specialization paths, it's almost like they branch out,
They do, yeah.
creating this whole web of possibilities.
It's a very dynamic field, that's for sure.
Now let's shift gears for a minute. Talk about the job market for drafters.
Okay, sure.
What's the outlook like for someone considering this career?
It can be competitive,
Yeah.
especially for those entry-level positions, when you're first starting out.
Right.
But the demand for skilled drafters, it's still strong.
Across the board.
Yeah, pretty much, across all those different industries.
So even if one industry might be, experiencing a downturn or something,
Right.
there are other avenues to explore.
Exactly, you've got options.
Yeah. What about automation? Because I know that's something that people are thinking about a lot these days.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of job security.
Yeah, and it's a valid concern. I mean,
Yeah.
as technology keeps evolving, some of the tasks that drafters used to do manually,
Right.
those might become automated.
Of course.
But that doesn't mean the profession's doomed or anything like that.
Good. Yeah.
It just means that you got to be adaptable.
There's that word again.
It's all about adapting, being proactive.
What are some specific things that aspiring drafters can do?
Well, first and foremost, becoming proficient in the latest software.
Okay.
That's essential, and I don't just mean the basics.
You've really got to dive deep.
Exactly. Learn those advanced features.
Become like, I don't know, an AutoCAD ninja or something.
That's a good way to put it.
Revit, SolidWorks, all the big ones.
All of them, yeah.
So those software skills are non-negotiable.
They are. They're essential.
Okay, what else?
And embrace lifelong learning, you know.
What does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, it's about staying updated on the latest trends in the industry.
All right.
New software updates, emerging technologies, all of that.
Because it's not enough to just, like, learn the skills once.
Nope, you have to keep learning.
And be willing to, like, continuously evolve.
Precisely.
What about specialization? We were talking about that earlier, finding your niche.
That's a great way to make yourself more competitive.
Okay, so you become, like, the go-to expert
Exactly.
in a specific area.
Right.
Whether it's, I don't know, sustainable architectural drafting,
That's a good one.
3D modeling for medical devices.
Yeah, or something completely different.
Finding that thing that really lights you up.
Exactly, and becoming the best at it.
What about a portfolio? I've heard that that's important,
It is. It's crucial.
especially in a field that's so visual.
Right. You got to be able to show what you can do.
So how do you even begin building a portfolio?
Well, you can start with personal projects.
Okay.
Things you're passionate about.
Right.
You could volunteer your skills for a local organization.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Maybe even participate in some design competitions.
Get your name out there.
Exactly, yeah. Show off what you can do.
It's about having something tangible, right?
It is, yeah.
That proves your abilities.
It shows that you're passionate.
Yeah.
That you're serious about it.
Now, we've talked a lot about the technical side of things.
We have, yeah.
But those soft skills, those are important too, right?
They're absolutely essential. You can't underestimate those.
It's not enough to just be, like, a CAD wizard.
Nope. Got to be able to communicate, too.
Right, because you're working with people.
Exactly. Engineers, architects, clients, everyone.
So being able to explain complex concepts clearly.
Yes, that's key.
Both verbally and in writing, I'm assuming.
Both, yeah, definitely.
Especially since not everyone you're talking to is going to understand all those technical terms.
Right. You got to be able to break it down.
Make it make sense.
Exactly.
And problem solving, too.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Because there are always going to be those challenges.
Always. Design challenges, spatial constraints,
Yeah.
conflicting requirements.
It's like being a design detective or something.
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
You're piecing together all those clues, finding the solution.
It's finding that aha moment.
That works for everybody.
Exactly.
What other, like, soft skills should aspiring drafters have in their back pocket?
Well, collaboration's a big one.
Okay, talk about that a little bit.
So drafters, we're rarely working in complete isolation.
Right. You're part of a team.
Exactly. Working closely with all those other professionals.
And it requires, what, good communication?
Communication is key, yeah.
Respecting different perspectives.
Absolutely. And knowing how to give and receive feedback.
That's huge.
It is. It's all about creating a positive and productive work environment.
It's interesting because we think of drafting as this very precise, detail-oriented field, which it is.
It is, yeah.
But it also requires a lot of teamwork and communication.
It does. It's a balance of both.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to automation.
Sure.
Because we were talking about it earlier, and I know it's something that people might be a little concerned about.
It's understandable, yeah.
Impact it might have on the future of drafting.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might hear automation and immediately think, oh no, my job's going away.
Right, right.
What would you say to those people who are worried about that?
I think it's understandable to be concerned about automation. It's a big change, right?
Mhm.
But personally, I think the future of drafting is really bright.
Okay, that's good to hear. A little reassurance.
Yeah, because automation, it might change how drafters work,
Okay.
but it won't eliminate the need for their skills entirely.
Explain that a little bit.
Well, think about it. Even with AI generating, those initial drafts, you still need a human to review them.
To make sure they're accurate, I'm assuming.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Make sure they meet all those specific requirements, refine the details, integrate them into the larger project. Those are all things AI can't do yet.
It's like the AI is a tool. It's not a replacement.
Right. It's there to assist, to enhance, not to take over completely.
It's like we were saying before, it's about humans and machines working together.
Exactly. Humans working with machines, not against them.
So the drafters who will really thrive in the future are the ones who can adapt, who can use these technologies to their advantage.
Absolutely, yeah. Be adaptable, be a lifelong learner, embrace those new tools. That's how you stay ahead of the curve.
It's all about evolving with the industry.
Exactly. It's an evolving field, always changing, always something new to learn. And honestly, I think that's part of what makes it so interesting.
It keeps things fresh, for sure.
Mm.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of drafting, what's the one piece of advice you want our listener to walk away with today?
Let me think. I'd say if you're passionate about design, if you're detail-oriented, if you love that idea of bringing ideas to life through technical drawings, don't be intimidated by everything we've talked about today.
By the technology, by the changes.
Right. Embrace it all. Don't be afraid to dive in, to get your hands dirty, so to speak. Never stop learning. And find that niche, that specialization that really lights you up.
I love that. It sounds like a career path that's both creatively fulfilling and constantly challenging.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
And rewarding. There's nothing quite like seeing your designs become reality.
It's like you're shaping the world around us in a way.
Exactly, yeah. In a very real, very tangible way.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the day-to-day realities of being a drafter, the skills you need to succeed, the potential impact of future technologies, all of it. Hopefully our listeners walking away feeling informed, maybe even inspired.
I hope so too. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of drafting. And listeners, if this episode sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep exploring. Check out some online resources, connect with drafters in your field of interest, maybe even try out some of that drafting software we were talking about. You never know, this might be the start of your drafting journey.